colors, he insists, were chosen to replicate the venomous coral snake. The mascot reflected Chambers' appreciation of Mexican bandits.
Well, the character came from the actual bandidos of Mexican folklore. Although they would go out and rape, plunder, and pillage other areas in their own backyard, they were their protectors.
The early 1970s saw the gang grow quickly into a force. The new recruits seemed to share a common background.
A common component is that most of these guys have had a missing piece of their childhood. So, in a sense, they are looking for a family.
I joined because, like I said, I wanted to be a part of what I thought was one of the best or baddest organizations where I could go anywhere and there were Bandidos and I could party and have fun with them.
That brotherhood was particularly attractive to some Vietnam vets who joined the gang in droves.
In the late 60s, early 70s, there was an influx of people coming back from the military that wanted that adrenaline rush that they had. And they wanted to replicate it here. And they also wanted to replicate the camaraderie, the brotherhood that they had with their fellow soldiers in Vietnam.
The drug culture that was so much a part of the war came back from Southeast Asia with the new pledges. Taking a page from the Hells Angels, the Bandidos made meth as much a part of the gang as their motorcycles. Not only did the drug keep them awake during runs, but it was also a moneymaker.
Methamphetamine's always been the biker's drug. The Hells Angels are kind of the trendsetters in the outlaw motorcycle gang world. That's just the reality of it. And as much as these other gangs hate them, they do follow them, they do mimic their behavior.
The Bandido Nation expanded in the 1970s as new chapters spread throughout Texas and several surrounding states. The San Antonio chapter kept a tight rein on membership. They called the shots.
You didn't want to throw a patch on and come to us to say we're going to do this because, that's dictating us, and we didn't do that. We weren't dictated to, we were doing dictating.
It was clear early on the Bandidos meant business. In 1972, they punished two brothers for trying to pass off baking soda as cocaine. Chambers, the founder and president of the Bandidos, forced them to dig their graves. Then he shot them at close range and set fire to their corpses. Chambers was charged with the double murder and sentenced to life in prison. Despite losing their leader, the Bandidos continued to expand their membership and their criminal activities.
There was an evolution of the guys having a good time to where some of the guys, it became a full-time thing for them to commit minor crimes and live their life off of the proceeds.
By the 1980s, authorities said the Bandidos had grown into a widespread illegal narcotics enterprise. Members set up distribution networks and turned a profit selling drugs.
A lot of these guys are unemployed. Their gang is their occupation, it is their job. You might have two members that are stealing motorcycles, two members that are selling cocaine, a couple of members that are into marijuana.
The Bandidos branched into other criminal activities, dealing in stolen motorcycles, gun running, and prostitution.
It's an expensive lifestyle. These guys are required to travel on a regular basis. These guys have to get their money somewhere. They can't just support this off of thin air, and that's where the criminal activity comes in.
The 80s also witnessed the gang's international expansion as Bandidos converted existing motorcycle clubs into new sets. It was a new way to grow their criminal business, and before long, chapters in Australia and Europe were patching over.
You have to get international because it gives you access to foreign chapters that have access to narcotics that can help you with importation and with your drug distribution network.
The Bandidos were now a global criminal network, and law enforcement took notice. In 1985, federal agents arrested 82 members of the Bandidos in 8 states, charging them with manufacturing and selling meth. In addition to drugs, authorities seized more than 150 illegal weapons. In the 1990s, the Gulf War brought a new influx of veterans to the Bandidos. The new recruits were needed to run the gang's lucrative drug trade and fend off competition from their prime rival, the Hells Angels.
The Hells Angels believe that they should be the only outlaw motorcycle gang in existence. They think they're better than everybody else, they're smarter than everybody else, and they look down at these other gangs. If the Hells Angels had their way, they'd occupy all 50 states. But it's difficult to do that when you're fighting wars on several different fronts.
The fights between the Hells Angels and the up-and-coming Bandidos started occurring frequently. Crossing into rival territory was a hazard, especially if it was with the intention of starting a new chapter.
It's all about that bottom rocker. If you have Texas on your bottom rocker, then you're claiming Texas as your territory. Just the same as a Hells Angel would claim California with his. When you move another group into that equation, you're going to have problems.
In 1996, the Bandidos' war with the Hells Angels literally exploded. Police suspected a member of the Bandidos launched an anti-tank grenade into their rival's headquarters in Copenhagen, Denmark. 2 people were killed. At least 15 more were injured. The Bandidos were in the biggest battle in their history, and Richard Merla, aka Scarface, was about to become a top soldier. In 1999, a man named John Portillo stepped in as president of the powerful San Antonio chapter. Merla says that Portillo tapped him to be his sergeant-at-arms, the chief of his security force.
You could depend on me. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to fade away. You know what I'm saying?
Merla possessed the quality most prized by Bandidos: loyalty to the Brotherhood. He was quickly awarded the gang's coveted Expect No Mercy patch. The patch is given to members who have done something beyond the normal call of duty for the gang.
And I ain't talking about going stealing a motorcycle for him. I ain't talking about selling dope for them. Like that. More or less just taking another person's life. It's worn right here in the front, where you get the circle patch and put it right there.
By now, violence and drugs permeated the Bandidos from top to bottom. In Houston, authorities were convinced the organization was corrupt at every level.
I've been around them. I've been in amongst them. Are there some good guys in the Bandidos? None that I personally saw. Are there some that put on a very good facade where they appear to be good guys? Sure.
In 1999, Officer Jones, who asked to have his identity concealed, went undercover with his partner to infiltrate the Bandidos as part of a Houston drug sting.
You start running into the same people, then they start remembering me. Maybe buy a drink here, buy a drink there for them, shoot a game of pool.
Officer Jones took his time, gaining the confidence of his targets.
They're intelligent. They know to have frontmen. They know to place as much insulation between them and their criminal activity as they can.
Jones and his partner started dropping hints about wanting drugs. After a few months, they were allowed to buy from the Bandidos. During the deals, they listened to members brag about stealing motorcycles. Within a year, they had infiltrated the Bandidos' operation. Every day brought new risks.
We didn't want to cross the wrong fence and find ourselves in a bind.
Their investigation uncovered large amounts of meth, cash, guns, and knives. It resulted in the arrest of 2 Bandidos. More than $250,000 worth of drugs and white supremacist material were also seized. It didn't take the Bandidos long to figure out who had betrayed them.
There was a price put on mine and my partner's head by the Bandidos. I've heard it was $10,000. My partner and I took it serious. I don't know how many t-shirts that we found that said snitches are a dying breed.
Houston, Texas, 1999. Officer Jones and his partner had infiltrated the Bandidos, the second largest outlaw motorcycle gang, or OMG, in the world. Their sting operation resulted in 4 arrests and the confiscation of more than $250,000 worth of drugs. The Bandidos